Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel just released Thunderbolts, then quickly retitled the movie The New Avengers. There are a ton of deleted scenes, alternate endings, different subplots for characters, even totally different post-credit scenes involving Baron Zemo in Jonathan Majors' Kang the Conqueror, for those of you asking what happened to those characters. So we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos, and careful for spoilers for the movie if you haven't seen it yet. Originally, the movie started development as Black Widow 2. It would have just been a direct sequel to Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow movie, with Yelena Belova becoming the main version of Black Widow in the MCU. She's kind of already taken over that role metaphorically, but they've never officially referred to her as Black Widow. Marvel, pretty much all the fans, just call her Yelena. That movie would have directly addressed Val wanting Hawkeye dead, why she lied to Yelena and tried to get her to kill him during the events of the Hawkeye series. They said that the reason why they took that part out of the movie is because enough time had gone by, like a couple of years had gone by since Hawkeye came out, so they felt like general audiences would not remember that happened. Like, why is this a big deal again? There have been a number of other examples like this during Marvel Phase 5 movies where a lot of stuff gets set up on the TV shows and people don't watch the TV shows, so they come into the movies and stuff isn't explained really well. This is one of the reasons why you've been hearing about Kevin Feige changing the way that they make TV shows and how it all connects with the movie stuff in what you need to know and what you don't need to know heading into movies. Baron Zemo would have been a little bit more involved in that plot, pulling strings from behind the scenes. Val would have been a main antagonist, but Sentry was not part of that version of the movie, like he was nowhere to be found. Then early in development, the writer said they pivoted to the Thunderbolts team-up story, and it became more of an ensemble film, but also this version did not have Sentry. Instead, it was actually going to be John Walker's U.S. agent who would be the surprise heel turn at the end of the movie, and Val would have revealed that she'd secretly been gaslighting him, telling him that his super soldier serum, the newer formula that he took during Falcon and Winter Soldier, was wearing off. In order to keep his powers, he needed to take regular injections. Secretly, she would have used that to dose him with gamma treatments, turning him into a version of A-Bomb from the comics, and during the climax of that version of the movie, he would Hulk out, like the bomb would go off, metaphorically, and he would transform into A-Bomb from the comics. In the comics, A-Bomb is Rick Jones, one of Bruce Banner Hulk's longtime best friends. Marvel did include Rick Jones in the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk movie, which is canon to the MCU, like it's still Mark Ruffalo's version. But when they actually did that Incredible Hulk movie, Edward Norton had Rick Jones taken out of the script. Also, fun fact, Luke Perry from A Billion Places you probably remember from somewhere, like 90210 back in the day, Riverdale, he played animated Rick Jones during the Incredible Hulk cartoon.
Ed's Garage, Rick Jones speaking.
As you probably realize, they used that plot, secretly gaslighting someone by dosing them with gamma over a long period of time, for the Captain America Brave New World Hulk storyline, where Thunderbolt Ross is turned into Red Hulk slowly over time by the leader character. So it was one of those cases where they had to take it out of the Thunderbolt movie because they used that during another recent movie. They said that John Walker Hulk version of the movie would have still ended with a similar mental health type twist where the Thunderbolts team gives John Walker, now hulked out, a sun's getting real low kind of hug, metaphorical and literal hug, because they also literally hug Bob during the climax of the movie Inside the Void. But in that version of the movie, the ending, the post-credit scene were going to be totally different. During the ending, they would have pulled a Usual Suspects type of twist where Baron Zemo was revealed to have been behind everything the whole time while he was still inside the raft. He would have been the Kaiser Soze of the movie, but he would have still been in the raft in prison the whole time. So it would have been a more direct continuation of his events of Falcon and Winter Soldier, where they reveal him at the raft at the end of the movie, like, oh, what's he been doing this whole time? Well, he's secretly been plotting, causing this team of Thunderbolts to come together. For those of you upset at the Baron Zemo erasure in the theatrical cut of the movie, in the comics, the Thunderbolts were created by Baron Zemo with villains, and they pretended to be heroes for a while, but were secretly just still villains. During the theatrical version of the movie that we all just saw, the origin of the Thunderbolts name is that it was Yelena's childhood soccer team, which they used for a big joke about how terrible that team was and how terrible the MCU version of their team is at the end of the movie, but they still have all this heart, they're still able to win the day. That older version of the post-credit scene was also extremely different. There was no Fantastic Four, no New Avengers jokes, no jokes about Sam Wilson filing a copyright lawsuit against them trying to trademark the name. It was going to be Jonathan Majors, Kang the Conqueror. They would have revealed that the space crisis that Yelena does mention in the theatrical version are the incursions, and it was the Council of Kangs behind them destroying timelines, universes one by one, because that version of the movie early on, obviously, was building up to Avengers Kang Dynasty, not Avengers Doomsday. So originally it was meant to pay off the Ant-Man and the Wasp post-credit scene with the Council of Kangs deciding that they were going to start destroying all the timelines they saw as threats, eventually in this movie, the Thunderbolts movie, arriving in the MCU in the sacred timeline to destroy it.
How many did you call? All of us.
And that would have basically teased the beginning of Avengers Kang Dynasty. They said that that version of the movie actually survived up until the strikes in Hollywood a couple years ago. When the strikes shut everything down for most of that year, they were forced to take the movie back into pre-production. In over the many, many months of them not doing anything, they just kept reworking the script, changing storylines. So this is all before they started actually filming the movie. This is when Sentry got added to the movie, the whole Bob plot, where he became the secret heel turn and manipulated by Val in the climax of the film. This is also where they changed the ending to have them turn into the government-sponsored New Avengers. The Sam Wilson copyright joke got added in, the Fantastic Four post-credit scene got added, because by the time they actually started filming the movie, like many, many months later, Marvel had secretly already made the deal to bring Robert Downey Jr. back as Doctor Doom, and they changed Avengers Kang Dynasty to Doomsday. They didn't actually announce Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom return until Comic-Con in 2024, though, well after they'd actually started filming all this stuff. Typically, when Marvel makes big deals, big changes like that, it gets worked out, like all the paperwork gets worked out long in advance, and they just sit on the news until they have a big event like Comic-Con coming along. A lot of the real big stuff they usually start working on years in advance. For example, when they first teased Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Infinity War Part 2, remember big title difference when they first announced it, they'd already started previs on the final battle in Avengers Endgame. This was long before they ever started even filming the first Avengers Infinity War movie. Literally like 4 years before they actually released Avengers Endgame. But at a certain point, when Marvel also agreed to bring the Russos back to do Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, the Russos started completely rewriting the movie, so that's obviously when it changed from Avengers Kang Dynasty to Avengers Doomsday. So all the stuff that they were building up to needed to completely change.
Joe and I have come to potentially see a road forward with you all.
Even after they started filming the Thunderbolts movie, they continued to change it significantly. Marvel does this with all of its movies, though. They filmed a lot of Taskmaster scenes that got cut in editing, changing some of the subplots, removing storylines between characters. Marvel also does this to its movies all the time. The movies they wind up releasing wind up being totally different from the movies that they actually filmed. This is why you saw those mystery shots of Taskmaster during scenes in the trailers that happen later in the movie, long after she's killed off at the beginning of the movie. All because a lot of those newer scenes of them killing her off happened in the reshoots later on after they'd already filmed most of these other later scenes that got put in the trailers. Typically, the bigger the movie, the more this happens. In the original version of Thunderbolts that they filmed, Taskmaster was going to survive to the end of the movie. They didn't kill her off in the opening scene. They would have used the Bob memory loss gag for her character, where a recurring joke throughout the movie was going to be that she would just forget that she had teamed up with everyone and would keep trying to kill John Walker, U.S. agent again. Eventually, at some point, revealing that she had learned Val's true intention of turning him into A-Bomb from the comics, so every time her memory was glitching, she was actually remembering that she needed to kill John Walker to stop him from turning into A-Bomb and threatening the world. She would have had a much deeper friendship with Ghost, the two of them would have a bigger storyline bonding over their collective trauma, and they would have used Taskmaster as more of an example of how things could be so much worse for all the characters. Like a big theme of the movie is them dealing with all their respective trauma. Like, the things that happened to me are way worse than the things that happened to you. Like, my backstory is way more traumatic than you. By the time they were getting ready for reshoots, they said they felt like the movie needed clear stakes at the beginning, like there weren't enough stakes, and they needed a big death. And she basically picked the short straw, mostly because Marvel didn't have big plans for her version of Taskmaster after Avengers Secret Wars, so it wasn't like killing her off would mean that they'd lose some big thing that they wouldn't be able to do in the future. There were a lot of Sentry's lines that they cut early in the movie when he was still in Bob form that would have given away the secret of the character much faster. For example, when they're all trying to figure out how to escape the underground vault, Bob would have still forgotten a lot of his abilities, but he would have asked the others if they could fly or they just punch and shoot, And they said they felt like this made the turn too obvious and on the nose because he literally flies right after this and remembers what he can do. If I remember correctly, in the theatrical cut of the movie, they gave the flying, punching, and shooting line to Yelena instead.
On the Wheaties box with the little kitty paw.
During this version, instead of the running gag about the Wheaties box, it was actually a pack of Skittles. Like Skittles was their big shared moment where after they wind up escaping the vault, all the characters, including Taskmaster, share some Skittles, and at the end of the movie, they wind up sharing Skittles again. No idea why they pivoted to the Wheaties box, but I think because it just flows more with Red Guardian's character that he comes from an era where actually being on the Wheaties box was a much bigger deal in pop culture, whereas nowadays not so much. Also, maybe the Mars company, which owns Skittles brand, probably didn't want to pay Marvel millions and millions of dollars to be used in the movie, so they pivoted to Wheaties, who probably did pay them some money. There are a number of post-credit scene moments that also got cut during the editing process. They filmed a version of that Fantastic Four post-credit scene where they're all watching the ship on the monitor arrive from their alternate universe, and Bucky was going to be confused, not understanding the significance of the number 4 on the ship. Like, they treat it like a big reveal, but the characters are mostly quiet, like, wow. In the longer version of this scene, John Walker's US agent would have started arguing with Bucky over the significance of the number 4, and they said that it actually turned into more of a comedic Leslie Nielsen type of sketch comedy bit. Kevin Feige, probably correctly so, took that out, like they just removed it during editing because they'd already hammed it up with all the jokes about the nasty memes that the people of the MCU were posting about their team online, like they hated their version of the team in the MCU, and the joke about Sam Wilson suing them for copyright of the Avengers name. So already there was a lot of really, really big comedy going on in the scene, and they wanted a more serious ending for the scene to get you more hyped up for Fantastic Four later this year in Avengers Doomsday. One of the other biggest things of note during this Fantastic Four post-credit scene, you probably noticed there's some visual errors too. We will see if Marvel winds up fixing this by the time the movie winds up hitting Blu-ray, because they do this with a lot of their movies where they'll continue editing things and changing visual effects after the movies come out. Look at the Fantastic Four logo on their ship. It's different from the Fantastic Four logos in the recent trailer that they just released for their movie. And look at their ship. In that new trailer, it has 3 fins on the back. During the post-credit scene, this version of the ship has 4 fins. This is probably because they had different teams of visual effects working on the Thunderbolts in this post-credit scene and a different team working on the Fantastic Four movies' visual effects. And at a certain point, they had continued updating the designs of everything in the Fantastic Four movie, but the other team that was working on the post-credit scene for Thunderbolts probably had to stop working on it and just move on to another project, like they're working on Avengers Doomsday stuff now.
Little juicy nuggets.
There have been a lot of alternate theories about who's actually on the Fantastic Four ship. Like, is it going to be Doctor Doom secretly on that ship, or will it actually be the Fantastic Four? I think it is meant to be the real Fantastic Four coming from their universe. Like, I don't think it's secretly Doctor Doom or anything like that. But when the movie comes out on Blu-ray, don't be surprised if they've changed this scene so that this version of the Fantastic Four ship looks just like the one that we see in the final version of the Fantastic Four movie. Really good example of this phenomenon with them changing movies, like the way it looks after it comes out in theaters, is Avengers Endgame. If you saw that opening weekend, the version of the final battle you saw is different from the version if you saw it a week later. So like if you waited to see Avengers Endgame, you were literally watching a different movie. Like it functionally looked different. Mostly because Marvel famously overworks a lot of their visual effects teams, so they just can't finish stuff in time for it to actually release. Like when the movie is released in theaters, there's still work to be done on it. And the obvious example that literally just happened, like we all just watched it happen while the movie is still in theaters, is the whole title change stunt that Marvel just pulled, changing all the posters for Thunderbolts to call the movie The New Avengers. So everybody let me know in the comments if you're part of the OG crew of people who saw the movie before they changed the title. Marvel will probably reveal more deleted scenes and characters for Thunderbolts over the next couple of weeks, so I'll do more videos like this once they do. But if you have any questions about storylines, characters, or things they cut out of the movie, just write them in the comments below and I'll add them to my future bonus videos. We will see what winds up happening to all the Thunderbolts characters through Doomsday and Secret Wars, but I wouldn't be surprised if they kill off a couple of them. We will start getting more Fantastic Four trailers soon, more footage of Avengers Doomsday since they've also already been filming. Everybody click here for my full breakdown of the movie with all the Easter eggs and references, and click here for my Thunderbolts post-credit scene video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.